Hey, how's it going, everybody? My name is SockBot, and today I made the bed for you all because I care about you and need some kind of pretty or at least a clean background. So that's how much your father cares about you. But today, it's completely unrelated to that. I hope you recognize the background if you've been here for a while, but we're going to be talking about people that don't like dreams. Yes, they exist. I deal with them in my life every single day, but to get past the drama and the clickbait that I need as a YouTuber to get people to actually watch and listen to my silly and nasally voice, I need to start with that and then move on to the fact that I actually don't think that any of these people that I've spoken to dislike dreams. I think the bigger thing here is that there's a lot of people that know about dreams and have very vague ideas of it, more than the general public would about dreams, but have vague ideas about what it is and still haven't picked it up or played it yet. And yes, I know people have a number of backlogs, I do myself, and Dreams is one of those games that doesn't really finish. You don't really get to a point where you're just done the game because there's always new user-generated content. So it's a specific slot that it needs to fulfill in anybody that wants to play this as life. If you're going to play it consistently, I guess. But it's also something that's really easy to pick up and put down, so it's something I've been interested in kind of delving into, and also something I deal with in my everyday life, because I'm a YouTuber who talks about dreams all the time, who hangs out with a bunch of gamers who really don't know what dreams is, and I'm trying to be understanding. That's what this is all about. This is therapy for anybody that has reservations about dreams, I guess you could say. But as always, feel free to like the video, feel free to subscribe if you want to see more. But long intro over, let's talk about these people and talk about their issues with dreams. So starting off, I'm going to do the biggest example of all of them, and that is my lovely boyfriend Dave, who I just interviewed, but who does not wish to be on camera, which is totally fine, honey. I get it. I'm a little weird on camera sometimes, and weird in real life too, so happy to talk about it anyways. But he had a lot to say about this, which is not surprising given he is dating somebody that is making YouTube videos about this game. But I have played Dreams with him probably 2 or 3 times, I want to say, and it's been a blast every time. And I think that from my perspective, I didn't fully understand why it didn't entice him as much as it enticed me. Like, even though I know that he doesn't love creating, the other part of it to me is enticing enough to buy it as a game anyways, but that's why I asked him. And the TLDR of his response had a few points. Starting off, his biggest point that he mentioned to start with was that the create mode doesn't really interest him. Not in the sense that he's never created anything. He's actually spent a number of hours with Mario Maker, making different levels in that, and more importantly, playing other people's levels. And actually, in Little Big Planet, that seemed to be a game that he was far more interested in because he bought it on its own before we even started dating, which was pretty cool and definitely a plus when I was deciding whether or not to date him, because if you own Little Big Planet, I'm already interested, but don't take that out of context. But he mentioned that Dreams specifically didn't interest him because of the create mode, and I think that's fine. But then my follow-up question was, so why not just play games in it? What's the issue there, and why hasn't that brought you back into the game when I'm too busy to actually use the PlayStation? And to that he responded that the majority of people that are going on to Dreams to do that sort of thing would probably want to sort of swipe through and kind of go through games a la autosurf, like you would do in TikTok, for example. And I think that the few things he mentioned there are all things that exist within Dreams, namely the autosurf and top 5 picks from Media Molecule, those sorts of things. But I will agree, and this is something that I actually mentioned to Media Molecule when I interviewed for them, that the interface and the focus of Dreams seems to be a little all over the place with how they do their UI. And that's totally expected, I think. It fits the aesthetic of the game, but for people that really do just want to play games, I think that when you go onto the main page of the community, first of all, it's called the community, it's not just called play anymore. And that, I guess that makes a little bit more sense for people that have used these games before. But getting into that part and getting to auto surf and getting to the top 5, there's a lot of clutter there that I think will distract people away from those sorts of things, and namely to the point where my boyfriend did not even realize they existed. But moving on from that specific issue within Dreams, I talked a little bit more about what I've been seeing and what I've assumed has been the issue for a lot of people, and he related to that a lot, because I personally think that Media Molecule has not done a great job of marketing Dreams and pulling in people like my boyfriend who are not super into the create part of Dreams. And when you're not, the story mode that exists, Art's Dream, is very cool and very interesting, and definitely could have been put to the front of marketing a little bit more just to help people understand what Dreams is and to pull them in and kind of say, this is worth the price of admission alone for a game that is actually cheaper than most games, and then kind of lead into the fact that there's never-ending content. And I think that when I started talking about Dreams very, very early on, when we were still just kind of reeling from all the glitches in Little Big Planet 3, one of the things I mentioned was, where is like the aesthetic of this? Where are the characters that people are going to latch onto? Like, where's the Sackboy of Dreams? And I think I actually made a video called exactly that. And those types of grabbing like marketing techniques that I myself in marketing have seen all over the place, and they just don't exist within Dreams. It has a really cool aesthetic, and I think that that's definitely one selling point, that it's a very interesting aesthetic that very much matches the branding of the game. And once you get into the game, that aesthetic is there pretty much throughout, unless you're having issues taking that aesthetic out of your own games, in which case, again, I do have a video about that, but I'm going to stop self-promoting before I sound like a dummy. But moving on, I sort of relayed that to my boyfriend. He minorly agreed with the idea that there's not a whole lot pulling him to the game. And I think that that is actually something I saw across the board before it came out. Whenever I would talk to people, or whenever they'd bring it up to me to ask what is Dreams, because they knew I had a YouTube channel on it, and when you put your face and your voice on the internet a lot, people are going to find you and people are going to want to talk to you about it, as embarrassing as that may be. But they brought it up a few times. My friend Alex brought it up, my friend Michael brought it up, and a few others, my friends from high school, brought up that it's just kind of a floaty game, an ambiguous game. There's not a lot of concrete marketing and promotional materials that Media Molecule put out there to the general public, to people that aren't already interested in the game, to get them interested in the game. And that kind of seems like it should be priority number one when making a game. Obviously, priority number one should be making a good game. Priority number two should be making sure people know it's a good game so that people buy your game, because if people don't buy your game, then well, you're not going to be able to make more games. So totally understand. I think they made a fantastic game. I think there's some minor UI improvements I mentioned earlier that could be made, but it is that marketing. I had to explain to a bunch of people what Dreams is, and honestly, I had to come up with an elevator pitch for what Dreams is, because the first few times I was asked that, I really struggled to tell people. My first reaction was to say, have you played Little Big Planet? And if they had, that was pretty easy. I could just say, well, it's like Little Big Planet, but without any of the limits, and also without Sackboy. And even there, we're already saying without stuff, so that's concerning. But moving on to people that had like some kind of idea of Little Big Planet, but maybe didn't know like the whole play, create, share model, that's when I had to get creative. And so I started explaining that Dreams is both a game and a platform. It's a game in the sense that there is a story mode that you can play through called Art's Dreams, and at the same time, there is a number of community levels that you will essentially never run out of to play that other people have created. And thirdly, there's the create mode that people use to create those games. Excuse me, but oh my god, see, like, you can tell that took a lot of breath and a lot of burps, apparently, to get through that explanation. And by the end of that, saying that it's essentially 2 or 3 games in one, people have kind of glazed over and are not fully, like, following what you're saying. It's like one of those things where people are like, oh, that sounds really cool, and, like, there's a lot there. But still, even with that explanation, there's nothing really to latch on to. And I think that's just a criticism I'm always going to have of Dreams, and I don't think it's something that is unfixable, especially with DLC packs. Like, it's very easy to release a DLC pack with the same characters and put those all over the internet to draw people in. I mean, we've seen other games that kind of did okay or didn't do so well at launch make a better identity for themselves later on. I think No Man's Sky is probably the biggest one, but I think Minecraft over the years has definitely developed far more of a personality than it had in like 2008 when it was still in beta, and when people were talking about it as if, or it was 2008 or 2009, one of the 2 years, when people were still talking about it as this sort of like, well, okay, you can build anything in it, and it's a survival game, but like, what do you do? And I feel like that's kind of where we are in Dreams. And I know that I meant to spend more of this video talking about specific people and their specific responses to Dreams, but I think that getting the same response and mentioning it over and over and over again is probably less interesting than trying to do some sort of analysis on why people are talking about it that way. And like I said, I think that the number one issue is there's nothing to latch on for Dreams. There's characters, but they don't do a great job of promoting those characters, and those characters themselves are kind of ambiguous and dreamy to begin with. And so we come to this conclusion where it seems like Dreams, although the people that love it, like myself and a lot of you out there, are having a great time with it as a play, create, share tool, it's not enticing a lot of people outside of that. And so is it necessary that it does? Well, no, it's not. I'm having a great time with it. I don't think that it's lacking content in any way, because there's thousands of creators still creating really awesome stuff, and there's awards and great lists of good games from Media Molecule. But at the same time, if we want this community to grow, which I personally do, I love talking about these games with other amateur creators, and more importantly, I love playing games with people that kind of understand a little bit more about the process. And I think that that's where drawing in new people is always enticing to me. And obviously this isn't just the like and subscribe YouTuber side of me. This is just me as a person who wants more people to experience the joy that I do from creating things within Dreams and from playing other people's creations. And as a creator, you can obviously understand, if you are a creator yourself, there's a lot more appreciation that comes with looking at other people's dreams once you've played them yourself and once you've created them yourself. Does that make sense? Well, regardless, I hope that I did a good job of talking about the general opinions from my various friends out there that have spoken to me about this. If you are one of my friends out there, and or if you're just a person on the internet, feel free to leave a comment down below about your personal opinion about why you're playing Dreams, or why you're not playing Dreams, or why you're not playing as much as you may have in the past. I think it's always interesting to talk about, and it's very good for Media Molecule to see these sorts of things, because although I love the game and I never want to speak negative about it because it's just so much fun, I don't want people to think that there are downsides and reasons to not play it, but I think at this point, not addressing those is probably doing more harm than good. And so that's kind of what led to this video. But I hope it wasn't too clickbaity or too ranty, and I hope that I got those messages across from the people that left them and talked to me about them. But regardless, thank you for joining me in this new setting and different topic. I hope you're all doing well. I'll talk to you guys in the next video, but for now, my name is SockBot. Have a wonderful day, and goodbye.